hi. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so Seeking Sister Wife, season 5, episode 4. That's what we're gonna hop into because this one, bananas. Okay, there's some bananas stuff that I found out. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Cozy. I like to snark about sister wives and related TV shows here on YouTube. I do like to remind you this video is for entertainment purposes only. These are not facts. These are just opinions about public figures sharing their lives on television. Cool? Cool. All right. So let's just hop in because I have seen some wild articles and I want to talk about it. Let's start with the Ryan family because that's where the wildest one came from. Did we see the Starcasm article? Did we? Because I did. Becky Ryan, not her real name, is the stepdaughter of infamous cult leader Tony Alamo. Y'all, if you don't know who this lunatic was, all you need to know is that he was massively dangerous as an evangelist. He was a cult leader who ran a clothing company making denim jackets, of all things. A lot of celebrities wore them back in the day. At any rate, he was convicted of some really, really awful crimes in 2009, sentenced to 175 years in prison, and died in prison in 2017. This dude was nuts. He legit thought that he could resurrect his wife. It was a whole thing. He had sister wives. Dude was wild. So when I was questioning how Becky grew up and what in the world her father was preaching, I already know, and I 100% say not acceptable doctrine and no thank you, I don't want to debate it. I'm sure a lot of you already realize that. But there's that. That all came from Starcasm. If it's wrong, okay. But if it's not, that's some wild nonsense. So, Becky runs a preventative healthcare business where she can scan your antioxidant levels. I Googled it and the very first result is an MLM. Listen, I am staunchly anti-MLM. You are not going to catch your girl shilling for one. You are not going to catch me up in one. I'm sorry. I am not going to disrespect you for making the choice, but I'm not going to participate. I've seen the harm it's caused to my friends and family who have done it. I'm out. But there are other articles speaking about antioxidant scans for vision health, but these appear to be performed in doctor's offices, so I'm more likely to look to that as the better option. I don't know. Justin tells us that he's in construction, which is sort of this like stereotypical polygamy profession, if you will. Obviously, a lot of the folks in the Warren Jeffs cult go into construction. Garrick is in construction. Now Justin is in construction. There's a stereotype. And he's got a job that he needs to go give an estimate for, and Becky is worried that he won't be back in time for their date with Desiree. And Justin's like, listen, it's only 20 minutes away. But he says after losing Stephanie, finding a beautiful woman who is open to them is great. Desiree's supposed to meet them at 2, and they feel really excited for it. Becky wants to get past this first meeting, this first date, so they can just keep moving forward. I think she's just jumping it a little bit. Just a little bit. Honestly, Desiree didn't seem as open as they'd like to think that she was in that first meeting. Graham is asleep right now, and he makes little barks in his sleep, so if you hear them, just consider them a wonderful gift. But, they order their coffee. It actually kind of looks like bubble tea, if I'm being honest. And Justin's like, are you nervous? And he admits he's feeling himself kind of getting some cold feet. And he's really nervous she's not going to show up. He wants to text her at 2 on the dot. But Becky's like, whoa, calm down. Give her a few minutes. And Justin said he felt like Stephanie was the one. Any man, couple would want. And he said that he feels like they could probably find a one-night stand. Okay. No. But Becky's like, we're looking for a real-life partner, a long-term commitment. So they're waiting, and it's a little awkward, but the phone digs, and it is Desiree. She says she thinks she's chickening out. Becky says, we're about to get stood up, aren't we? Desiree appreciates the offer, but she really needs to protect her family. And she's sorry to go back on things now, but she hopes they meet the right person. Justin immediately wants to leave the restaurant, and Becky's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Aren't you going to reply? And he's like, I don't really want to. I'll reply later. He says that here it is, another girl gung-ho about meeting them, and then they think about it, Becky finishes. Guys, she wasn't that gung-ho to begin with, and also if everyone stops and thinks about it and then says never mind, you might have to accept that this lifestyle is definitely a tough row to hoe. Just saying. There are not a lot of people who are going to be open to this, and even less who are going to be on board with telling the whole world. Not everyone wants to share it on TV, especially not a recently divorced mom. Becky's upset, and she knows they have to think positively. And Justin says it feels like when Stephanie told him, she feels like she's coming out as gay in the 1950s. Becky says, I've never heard Stephanie say that, but Justin insists that she said it to him once. And I understand what she's trying to get at, but I can't help but remember when Cody conflated the two, polygamy and homosexuality, in that Sister Wives episode about the Women's March. Guys, it's not the same thing. It just isn't. I understand what you're trying to achieve here. Two very different things. Becky says that Desiree has the same excuse as Stephanie, and she can only hope that Stephanie will see the light and come back. These folks are really hung up on Stephanie, and they have got to let it go. She's like, this was a bummer, but I want to see it positively. And Justin says, it was worth the shot, right? So Becky feels like this is all an emotional roller coaster, and this whole search is frustrating, but she believes there's someone out there for them. Justin says at the end of the day, he has Becky, and you just focus on who you love. I wish you would consider that as a great option rather than chasing around all these different women. So, that's where we leave the Ryans this time. Really still very hung up on Stephanie. So we're going to go over and visit with the Davis family. The Davis family is definitely about to have some upheaval, I think. Danielle walking off from dinner, very emotional last time, makes me worry just how little her feelings are going to be taken into consideration. Thus far, it feels like everybody's really trying to push her to do something that she's uncomfortable with. Nick does follow her inside to speak with her privately, and she does come back to the table with a voiceover from Nick reminding us that she had moved out and come back. He feels they've been very open with her from the beginning about their desires to continue to expand the family and find more wives, and he isn't sure what to make of all of this. Jennifer asks, what are your concerns about dating? Because we can't help you if we don't know what the root of the problem is. That's actually very reasonable. If you aren't really sure why someone is upset, you can keep throwing out ideas and just making the issue worse. So Danielle says that this is really overwhelming and she hasn't even processed it. But I thought that was the whole point of getting your own apartment and moving out, to take some time and space to really consider what you were feeling and what you wanted. Nick tells her it's okay, but April jumps in and says that Danielle is dealing with insecurities. And as the newest addition, that's to be expected. The idea of dating probably plays a lot on those insecurities. But she loves Danielle as her wife as much as she loves Jenny as her wife, so she wants her to know that she's loved and accepted, and she doesn't want to be raising this family without her. Danielle's like, I think I understand that, but it can be really difficult. While coming together is special, it does come with its own set of issues, and Danielle had never been in a really serious relationship before the Davises. She'd been in a few casual relationships, but this was very different. And she thinks she needs to allow herself more patience and grace because she does love them and it breaks her heart. She didn't want all this conflict or pain, and she's worried that she allows her emotions to absorb her, and she wants to be more willing to open up. April doesn't want Danielle to feel like she can't be open and honest with them and deal with everything on her own. I think it probably is to Danielle's detriment that she had never been in a serious relationship before jumping in with this family. She wasn't sure what to expect from something so serious. And now, here she is, and she's not sure what she wants to do. Danielle shares she'd only moved out for a few days, which explains why it was she didn't take the time to really think about what this was going to do for her. And that those days were awful. Yes, it always hurts in the beginning, but that's where you need to start making those positive steps to try and come to terms with what it is you really want. Just because it hurts right at that minute doesn't mean you go running back to the thing. She said it made her realize who's there for you and who really loves you. It had been a couple days. And she felt that it was obvious to her there was nowhere else she would rather be, even though she thought she wanted the space. Nick assures her that they just need to find someone who's very special, who will enhance their family and not diminish it. I think that's a really monumental task, especially considering how Danielle is already feeling. It might be best for Nick, April, and Jen to really consider if they absolutely need to find another woman, and if it has to be right now, and why they feel like they need so many sister wives to begin with. They don't need this many people to feel whole. I think that There's something deeper to all these families who, outside of religious polygamy, which is its own can of worms, choose to live this way. I don't mean polyamory, where everyone is open and able to have other partners. I mean where the husband is allowed to have multiple partners while the women seem to cater to him. Because it's obvious this is tearing Danielle apart, and I'm hard-pressed to believe that they care so very deeply about her if they're willing to push forward for something that is causing her this much distress. April tries to justify that she and Jen wanting another person to come in, that's just the type of family they want. And even so, I want a lot of things. But I am not willing to hurt someone that I profess to care about so deeply just to get that thing. I don't know why they're in such a rush, other than maybe they see the end of the TLC paychecks if they don't keep searching and being on television. Note to all of you, if you decide to do reality television and make some money on it, make smart investments. This doesn't last forever. A producer asked Danielle if she loves them, and she's like, of course I do, more than I've loved anyone else. She tells the family that the days without the others were the worst days of her life, and she doesn't want to talk about them. On the couch, sans Danielle, Nick says he loves her very much, but he didn't see this coming. Hold your horses, sir, because you should have phrased that as two entirely separate thoughts. Because when I hear you say, I love you, but, what I hear is, I love you, and that isn't enough to get past this thing. He says he's kind of up in the air with what he thinks could happen. So he takes her out on a date to get a one-on-one talk going. He is feeling uneasy about the future. He loves her. She's a great mother and a great sister wife. And he's worried she's going to leave again because she still has that lease on that apartment. Danielle admits that sometimes it's much easier to have a one-on-one talk with somebody because when you talk in a group, there's a lot of pressure. She knows that things have been awkward since coming home, and she's actually feeling really nervous to be there with Nick in that moment. And Nick admits that he, April, and Jen, they've been doing this for a long time. So they sometimes sort of move in step with one another. But he knows it's important to remember and appreciate that this is still pretty new for Danielle. She has not been in this for as long as everyone else, and that maybe she doesn't feel as secure. She says she feels like she doesn't want to make waves, but in all fairness, they're doing all this together. And what worked before may not work the same way now. And that is a great point. Adding people in changes dynamics drastically. And for his part, Nick does say that he may have underestimated how hard this transition might be with Danielle. The transition with April and Jen went so much more smooth that he didn't realize how much this was going to affect the family. And he apologizes that she felt like she needed to move out, like he didn't give her the space to speak up and speak openly. Danielle's like, I want to fix this and move on. And Nick says, no one can be you and bring the same things to this relationship that you can. He asks, what do you need from me? And she's like, I just want to feel heard and listened to. I want you to know that things look different to everyone. And she wants to know that if things are moving too fast, she doesn't want to feel like she's lost in a sea of voices. He tells her that moving out has really impacted April very much, and that April will probably benefit from a one-on-one chat too. And he says that Danielle leaving was a big hit to everyone, but it hurt April really deeply. He would like them to be able to hash that out between the two of them, and he's worried because she still has that apartment lease. And he's afraid she's going to leave again. And that's where we leave these two. We never pop in with the Salahuddin family this time. Salahuddin, I've almost forgotten how to say their last name. It's been so long. Because I originally thought the Ryans were going to be the family that didn't stick, but now I'm wondering if it's Nyla and Naeem, because they are kind of acting like the toss-in pair here. I really hate describing anybody that way, but that's sort of how TLC treats the people they bring onto these shows. We all remember Ben and Mahogany from 90 Day Fiancé, and if you don't, that was a disaster. So, let's go to the Merrifield family. Danielle, you have got to stop. Natalia is never going to be Roberta, and you are not cut out for what Garrick is expecting from you. Garrick isn't cut out for what Garrick is expecting of you. So we open to them just saying burritos over and over again in a semi-Spanish accent. I realize that my Spanish accent is horrible. I speak German. Ich habe für 7 Jahre Deutsch gelernt auf Gymnasium Universität. So ich habe für 4 Jahre Deutsch sprechen. Deutsch sprechen. There you go. I took 7 years of German lessons in high school and college. That's really all I said. So I hate to be ignorant of simple things. So I went to go look and see if burrito is the same in Spanish and Portuguese, and learned that Brazilian Portuguese and Latin American Spanish are much more closely related than European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Which makes perfect sense, and I don't know why I didn't know that before. So for as much crap as I give Garrick and Danielle for not learning the language, this is not something I can harp on. Just an excellent opportunity to learn something about similarly named languages. It's their second day in Mexico, and Danielle says that they had a funnish night at the cenote. Girl, if you're going to be snarky, just do it with your whole chest. So the woman's afraid of bats. You seem like you're afraid of Natalia. Just saying. But she says she's looking forward to getting to know Natalia, and they're in the kitchen, and Garrick jokes about finding a chef wife from France. And Natalia says they don't need to run for France to France for another wife. Garrick could just buy food every day. And the entire time they translate this, Garrick is like petting her arm in a rapid fashion that just makes my skin prickle. I hate when somebody rapidly rubs my skin, and so seeing it gave me just massive ick. Ugh. A producer asked Danielle how she's feeling, and she says again that they are moving too fast, and begins to cry about Roberta. She knows Garrick's going to propose, and Danielle is going to give Natalia a sister necklace, but Roberta took all those things and never really followed through. Can I also add how I hate that Garrick always calls Danielle sister to these women, whether it's Roberta or Natalia? It feels super infantile in a way, by sort of just making it feel like these women are not capable of understanding Danielle's name versus calling her sister. I don't know. But the other thing that it feels like he's trying to take Danielle's identity away from her by sort of relegating her to this sister role as opposed to this like co-wife role. Danielle shares that while getting ready for breakfast, Natalia asks her for a one-on-one. And Danielle feels like Natalia's sensing her hesitancy. And she's really worried that this is going to upset Garrick because she knows he wants to propose like yesterday. Danielle is not ready to propose. And Natalia says that she understands that Garrick and Danielle want to move quickly because the process of moving her to the United States will take a long time. But she asked Garrick to go away so she can talk to Danielle because she senses Danielle's hesitating and wants to find out, are you really okay with this? Do you want this lifestyle? Danielle asks Natalia how she's feeling about everything so far, and out come the phones, and Natalia, straight away, asks Danielle, do you have your doubts about me or about this lifestyle? Right off the bat, just comes right out and says it. Danielle blames it all on the breakup with Roberta, and Natalia thinks that there's jealousy, and she wants to know if seeing Garrick be close with her is upsetting for Danielle. Danielle says she's nervous and afraid because joining a family with children, she needs to know this is something real and lasting. And that's the thing that gets me. These kids are being yanked around. Yep, they get these vacations and whatever, but it still takes an emotional toll to be told this person is going to be your dad's new wife and to have your mom be constantly sad and nervous and afraid all of the time. Even if somebody could convince me that sister wives are a good idea, I could never do this to my children. Ever. Natalia says she's in love with Garrick, but she needs to know that this is what Danielle wants. Because this is going to be a big change and mean a huge upheaval in Natalia's life to move to the United States with them. Danielle tells her she needs to understand they're all going to be making sacrifices and everyone is going to have struggles to work through. Garrick hears that and immediately pops in and was like, what's going on? And has this just, I hate this girl. Lord forgive me, I cannot stand this man. This super dumbfounded look on his face when Danielle says that Natalia senses that she's unhappy. And then Natalia says she doesn't feel safe being in a polygamous relationship knowing Danielle is afraid. Garrick's like, you told her you're afraid? And without even looking at him, I mean, she is looking down like this. She's like, no, I didn't. I can already feel the fight about to happen. Garrick isn't being aggressive specifically, but you can feel that tension rising and Danielle sort of pulling away and trying to change what she said. And when Danielle says, I didn't say I was afraid, Natalia's like, you did, and it was because of what happened with Roberta. And Danielle's like, oh yeah, I did say that. Garrick won't even look at Danielle. He claims he doesn't understand, wants to know what she said, and then gaslights Danielle by saying, you said you were 100% on board with this, and you knew that Natalia was it. But Danielle hasn't said that once. We haven't heard her say to Garrick on camera that she was 100% in. Actually, what we've heard her say in every situation was how many reservations she has about how quickly Garrick wants to move. Danielle's mouth just drops open when he says this because she is as shocked as the rest of us that he would pretend that, considering how much footage they have of her saying it. Danielle says she was just trying to express her feelings, and as she's just sobbing in confessional, and she knows that Natalia isn't Roberta, but she's really struggling with these feelings of betrayal. And she admits that it was so hard for her to divorce Garrick, but she did it because she trusted Roberta. And that's actually really hard to watch. This woman didn't want to do these things. Danielle's being really honest that she gave up so much for someone who didn't follow through with the plan. Natalia tries to step in with Garrick and says Danielle's feeling sad, and Danielle tries to disagree. Because of the language barrier, they're really struggling to communicate this very well, number one. But number two, it's very confusing when you don't speak the same language and someone is trying to cover up their tracks because the person that's sitting next to them, they might not want them to snap at them. So Garrick in confessional says he doesn't get it. He knew Danielle was struggling, sure. Did you? Because you literally just sat there and told her that she was 100% on board when she kept telling you she wasn't. I am so angry at him. I'm sorry. I am absolutely livid. But he's like, God promised my family more than just Danielle. I have to take a breath. You didn't. You didn't have a vision that God promised you 5 wives, Garrick. That is not real. I have said before that I judge Garrick more harshly, and this is no exception. In the Bible, it tells us that we are to rebuke our brothers and sisters in Christ appropriately and consider this rebuke. You are not living up to the standards you claim that you are, sir. He says that this isn't making him happy because he's getting ready to propose and now he doesn't know what to do. Maybe what you should do is listen to Danielle for once in your life. Natalia says that it may take time to move forward because Danielle deserves to be free from all the fear. And Garrick says he thinks it's normal for her to have to go through a time period with a new relationship because fear is never from God. Hard disagree. God wants us to work through and challenge our fears, knowing that he will help us overcome. I'm not saying he specifically puts fear in your heart, but dude, you cannot sit here and actually try to make me believe that this fear is from Satan, so you won't be able to have your harem of women. No, hard freaking pass. He goes on to say that you'll lose out on your blessing if you live in fear. I can't with this man. I just can't. Natalia shoots back with, you told me God spoke to you, but I don't think he wants Danny to be unhappy. Garrick shoots back with, I don't think Danielle is unhappy, and Natalia asks him to leave again. And he's like, I don't know what the heck is going on right now. He mumbles as he wanders off. Natalia asks Danielle again, is this what you want, or is it because Garrick wants it? We all know that Danielle wouldn't be honest at this point if this was just for Garrick, and that makes me sad for her. Danielle says she's not doing this because of Garrick. She suggested it because God was telling her it was what they should do. Natalia astutely points out that Danielle thinks that this is a calling from God, but she doesn't know. Even if it is, Natalia doesn't think God would want Danielle to be this unhappy. And she says, I'm not Roberta, and there is nothing she can do about what Roberta did. She shouldn't have to suffer consequences for that. Danielle says she feels like there's never a perfect time, but Natalia was brought by God to be a wife, and she looks forward to the future of the family. Natalia in confessional says she became worried at first because everything seemed fine when she got there, but she was confused when Danielle spoke of being afraid and everything happening with Roberta. She's like, Danielle told me about this months ago and never brought it up again. So it seems strange now, and she's worried that Danielle won't be able to get over it, honestly. Danielle tells Garrick it was good talk, and she thinks that Natalia seems very mature and wise for her age, being 25. Garrick says that when Danielle said she was afraid at first, he was really worried that the women were not on the same page. Newsflash, you weirdo! You and Danielle are not even reading from the same book. Garrick asks Natalia to pray for breakfast, and she prays in Portuguese, and it's actually a very lovely prayer. Danielle says that opening up to Natalia is hard because she's worried Natalia won't want to move forward. You can't hide these things from her, Danielle. It's a bad idea. This is going to blow up for them. And blow up it does, because Natalia finds out Garrick is still on the dating websites. He tries to say he hasn't continued to look. He just has a subscription, and Natalia calls him out for still being available. She says, listen, you can have a subscription and get access to new things without being available on it. She shares that he said that he was going to get off the dating sites. She had not asked him to, but had accepted him at his word. So when he pulled up the phone for the translator and she saw the notifications and knew he had not been truthful with her, yeah. Danielle says, you still have your profile on there and they can still message you. And he argues, no, they can't. But Danielle is not going to allow him to gaslight the ladies and keep pushing because she's like, yes, they can. Natalia even shows him, and in confessional, he's like, I don't know what to do because I'm being cornered by two obviously livid women, and this is so uncomfortable. I just want to keep ignoring it and making dinner. But the ladies press him, and he claims to not know that people can interact with him, but it is obvious to anyone with the sense that God gave a rock that this man is lying. Danielle says that people can still like you on here, and then it happens. Danielle tells us that she asked him to delete it months ago. Actually, she tells us to Garrick, and Garrick had said, why? We're going to be searching for other wives, which is the opposite of what he told Natalia, and also, isn't it convenient for him that she doesn't understand what is going on in this moment? And Danielle's like, why is it okay now to delete it? And he argues that he didn't do it because it would delete the information. And Danielle stands her ground, pointing out they can make a new profile if and when they need to. Natalia is not understanding, and Danielle is absolutely livid that she asked him to delete it. And in front of Natalia, he's all okay with it, but he wasn't okay with it when it was her asking. And she is in tears, feeling disrespected. Danielle hands Natalia the phone to translate everything, what's going on, and Garrick is like, oh, well, I should have done it then, and I just didn't. And Danielle is so angry and trying to hold it together. In her confessional, she is just sobbing as she says her heart is breaking because Garrick isn't willing to listen to her without Natalia present. In the kitchen, she calls him out for another lie, saying, you do go on there all the time. And Garrick's like, no, I don't. You're lying. And he's like, and he flubs. He says, I get messages and I see that someone liked me. Haha! How, sir, if you didn't know that that could happen, how do you suddenly know that that can happen? Danielle is open-mouthed, staring him down, and I wouldn't even blame her if she absolutely exploded and started screaming, because he is caught in his own web of lies right now. She's like, oh, so you didn't look at new people? And he says, no. And she's like, well, that's a lie. And still in tears in her confessional, she's like, I just question where we're even at. Obviously, because he's being utterly disrespectful of her. That's where we leave them this time. So we're off to the Sherwood family, and I will give Ashley credit for breaking things off with Grace. I think both women knew that this was not going to work, and I am sure Shane was never going to be comfortable with that situation that they were in. In fact, I don't know if he's ever going to be comfortable with any of this. Things seem really conflicted and difficult when they discuss this plan, and I really think Shane wants Ashley to be happy, but he's failing to take his own happiness and feelings into account. I personally feel like Ashley tends to have the more dominant personality, and she's going to blaze forth with less regard to Shane's feelings because Shane isn't likely to be as honest as I would like him to be about them. So Ashley is out on a date with Sarah. Another instance of dressing similarly is both are wearing floral dresses in sort of opposite color palettes. Ashley's got a knack for this. She says they met on social media and they really haven't gotten to know each other very much yet, but hopefully that changes. Sarah brought some food to do like a little picnic style lunch at the park, and Ashley says from her profile, Sarah seems young-spirited and they have a lot in common. Sarah pulls out a lobster roll and I'm jealous. So is Ashley, who's not eating shellfish due to her pregnancy. When asked, Sarah's like, yeah, I'm a lobster person, but I think I prefer crab. She lived in Maryland for a while, and if you know anything about Maryland, you know that the crab there is unlike crab anywhere else. It's like going to Maine and getting lobster. When a place nails it on a signature food, it's so amazing. Or if they flop, you never stop being made fun of. Looking at you, Skyline Chili. Man, you can get some great Polish or German food in Ohio, but when you tell people, oh, that's where I was born and raised, you have to hear about how Cincinnati messed it up for all of us. I know, I'm tired. Don't put cinnamon in chili. That's all. Ashley is excited about the idea of Maryland blue crab. Sarah asks how the baby appointment went, and Ashley says, baby's fine, but my blood pressure's a little wonky. And Sarah divulges that she has an 8-year-old and asks about having a 14-month-old. And in confessional, Sarah says she typically enjoys dating men more. But she's open to both men and women. She likes that Ashley is a mom, so they can bond over that. But the pregnancy aspect is a little weird for her. She asks Ashley about her and Shane's hobbies and activities, saying that, you guys seem like a really active couple. And Ashley's like, oh yeah, we do competitive axe throwing. And we have a league every Wednesday right now. Ashley feels like they're hitting it off. And she feels like Sarah is beautiful. She feels natural and comfortable with her. And she says, what are you looking for in a relationship? And Sarah says she's always been open to a more open relationship. She's gone out with couples before. And she thinks the most attractive quality in a person is kindness. And Ashley's, well, I just got lost in you speaking because it was so beautiful. I'll admit, unless they cut something out, she really just said she liked kindness. Sarah wants to know how Ashley views relationship progression, and Ashley says that getting to the point where they can be comfortable, and all of three of them can be comfortable together, is really important to her. She points out she and Shane are legally married, and you can't have two legal marriages, but what she's hoping for would be something like an emotional and spiritual ceremony akin to a marriage. Ashley feels like she would almost have to convince Grace that this would be a good dynamic, but Sarah seems really open-minded from the get-go. And Ashley asks, how open are you to meeting Shane in the nearish future? And Sarah's definitely open to it. That's a point in her favor, I'm sure. She's had experience with couples before, and she says she typically meets everyone all at once anyway. And Ashley says being willing to meet Shane, that's a big deal because she is a package deal. She feels like Sarah could be a really good fit for them because there's a lot of spark and attraction. And she's like, this is what it's supposed to be like. They make plans to meet again, and Ashley gives her a goodbye kiss. Then they head out. So Ashley gets back home, and Shane has the dogs out. And I love dogs. You know that. I have my Graham, and I just love seeing dogs. So he's like, oh, you have a big smile on your face, so that's a good sign. Ashley confirms there was really good chemistry and they were able to have these really high-value conversations. And she's like, hey, she's open to meeting you. And Shane is super relieved to hear that. He feels like this is a green flag and definitely feels more respected by this than he did by the dynamic with Grace. And he says that he's surprised Ashley made the first move when Ashley says that she kissed Sarah because she was so reluctant with Grace. He does think that probably goes back to feeling like she was walking on eggshells all the time. Shane asks if Sarah was gorgeous, and Ashley says yes, so that's a plus, and they were able to have these deep conversations about how relationships work. Shane wanted to know if the pregnancy was an issue, and Ashley says she didn't feel like it was. Sarah's been through it before, and that actually seems to be kind of important. She didn't think so beforehand, but she thinks having someone who has a child and understands all of the goings-on surrounding that actually might be more important than she'd considered. Ashley says whoever they bring in needs to be on board with kids and open to how they choose to raise their boys. And she tells Shane that Sarah's been in non-traditional relationships before, so she's already really open to this. She also felt like they had a very similar energy and agreed to a second date. Sarah is going off to visit family, so it's going to have to wait. And Shane said that if Ashley starts pulling away, he would definitely have to tell her that he was feeling alienated. In his closing confessional. So I'm hoping that Shane does stick to that energy because he needs to be able to tell her when he is not feeling respected. He did a decent job with Grace, but that did come across almost like Ashley was willing to defend Grace. I'm glad to see that they decided to move on and move forward with something else because that was not a good dynamic in my opinion. Obviously, this show has a lot more drama than My Five Wives, and even where we're at in Sister Wives, there's a lot less drama in that rewatch than there's going to be in this. And I have to admit, every time that Garrick comes on and says something that is just so outside of the realm of acceptable about Christianity, it makes my blood boil. I give the Ryans props for not making my blood boil nearly as much as Garrick does. Ooh boy, something about that man just, I can't help it. I can't help it. So, that is where we're leaving the families. We're leaving the families with Danielle Davis sort of on the outs with her sister wives, with Danielle Merrifield really about to have a meltdown with Garrick. Ashley and Shane actually seem to be in a pretty decent place at this point. And from the preview, the Ryans are going to go and chase down Stephanie. That's unhealthy. But hey, it's not my life and my relationship. So what am I going to do about it? Nothing. All right, so that is episode 4. I will be doing episode 5 and getting that up really quickly for you guys too, because like I said, I got a little bit behind, but we're gonna get back on track. And I did promise that April was going to be a month of more uploads. As far as my shorts go, I'm probably going to be doing more shorts featuring Graham, and maybe I do want to show you guys my temperature blanket. I am literally behind by a month, even though I promised myself I wouldn't do that. So, yep. But I'm probably going to be doing that for a little bit because I'm just not seeing a lot of really great news stuff coming out of a lot of this. Really, honestly, most of what I'm seeing is just stuff, repeated stuff we've seen on the show. So if I do get any good news about anything, I will be happy to share it with you. Until then, I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. I will catch up with you quick. Bye now.